themselves 3 months Xbox Game Pass Ultimate.
Yes.
Whippy.
Guys, if you're listening over on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, Podbeam, any of those, make sure you try and like it, share it, and if you can leave a comment, it helps us out greatly and gets our name pushed out a bit further, so more people can listen to the amazing DJ and more guests that we get on.
Yeah, let's go.
Right. So now we really appreciate. Guys, the live streams have been fantastic, as well as the support on the audio versions and also the VOD versions as well that we put up on YouTube. So we're trying to make it accessible to as many people as possible. Okay, so now that we've kind of done all the intros, we'll get on with what we got on tonight. So as we have our first guest on tonight, we've kind of narrowed down what we've got on tonight just so we have enough time. So we've essentially been focusing on the three main titles. So we'll be focusing on Flight Simulator, as that has had such big success. We're going to do a lot of talking about that. The Ascent and how that's going. And then we'll be spending a lot of time with DJ and learning all about him, his involvement with the Halo community, and how the Halo flight test went, as that was big news on the social medias. So this is a big show to get through, even though we've only got the 3 items. So we're going to dive right into it, and we're going to kick off with Flight Simulator. So Flight Simulator, Epic and I were lucky enough to get early access.
Super early access
to Flight Simulator.
Yeah.
That's thanks to our partnership with Xbox ANZ. We were hoping we could have been talking about it in the last episode, but we were kind of under embargo for it. So yeah, Epic and I had a chance to get on the action early, and as a result, both our channels kind of went kaboom boom because everyone wanted to know all about it. What was your thoughts and your community's thoughts towards it, Epic?
I loved it. I was blown away by it, and I think it's awesome for all ages too. Like I saw a few tweets from there was a really nice one that somebody had posted that they'd showed it to their dad, and then they printed off this little picture of the controller and how to use the controls. So the dad, who I don't know how old he was, I think he was about 70 or something, could fly the plane over the places that he wanted to. So that's really cool, and it's super user friendly too. It's a bit daunting at the start, but once you get used to it, and you could use the AI pilot too, but I think anybody could use that quite easily. But yeah, I did the Discovery flights, which are amazing. So if you haven't played it, the Discovery flights is a feature, like a sort of dip your toes in the pool and takes you to, incredibly beautifully rendered places like Pyramids of Giza and Everest. So you're already flying in the sky. You start flying in the sky with that, and so you just enjoy the ride. And yeah, I took that plane all over the place. I think one of the flights I tracked was the Grand Canyon. Yes. So I looked online for the tours and plotted it out manually on the game itself, and that was amazing. Yeah, it's really good. But I don't know where the Harbour Bridge is. It's not there.
I noticed that, yes.
And I asked them.
The Sydney Harbour Bridge is just nowhere to be seen. You fly through Sydney, you see the beautiful Opera House, and there's just no Harbour Bridge.
Yep. And there's a bay.
Yeah.
Like, there are people who go to work who live on the other side of that bay. And this is not a ferry situation. We have a bridge.
That's like the airport
there are little things that are missing here and there in the game.
There's an airport that's probably 2 or 3, maybe 4 years old now, that's just outside of where I live. And I was like, oh, yeah, I'm going to fly into there. That's going to be awesome. I'll fly from there to Brisbane, and that would be it. And I went to the airport, and there was no airport. It was just a big green paddock. I was like, lovely.
Oh.
Yeah.
Just took off. I was like, this sucks.
Yeah, for those listening, Australia, all the locations are fantastic, but Australia is about, I think I've worked out it's about 5-6 years behind, and I've done that maths based on my knowledge from working at Brisbane Airport, because our new runway's been open for just over a year now, and when you fly through Brisbane, it's still like a big, massive like sand pit, and that was like that. Oh, that's early stages.
Are you sure we're not like 100 years, if like the Sydney Harbour Bridge is not there, like when was that built?
Oh, so Drunk actually, who's in chat right now, is the one who took me through, and we actually we took off and flew from Perth and went down and flew through Albany and landed on the water. We took water planes and then flew up over through all the way over through Brisbane and down by the Brisbane airport up next to the water park. It was super cool. It was really beautiful because I haven't been back in forever. And so it was nice to go there. I think one of the things we did this back when it came out on Windows 10 for PC when we rolled through it. I think one of the things that stood out to me the most about this game was how the dynamic resolution and the consistency with the visuals and the graphics. And when you're flying, it's not glitchy. It's so smooth.
Oh,
the frames per second make it so buttery, and it's an exquisite opportunity. You have so many different points of views, so many different perspectives you can see, and you get your choices between planes. There's an upgrade in teaching systems, so you have a chance to not only learn basic flight controls, but also really get a good handle on why different planes respond differently, whether you're in a prop plane or a jet engine plane, whether you've got forward or aft engines and what you're doing. It's also pretty unforgiving if you are on realistic mode and you want to crash down into the ocean. Trust me, I did. I discovered I should not be a pilot. Now, granted, it flies different than an X-Wing, but that's not a real plane. So yeah, no, it was a really great way. If you've been to a place that you haven't, if you want to visit a city you haven't been to in a while, it's a great way to get a refresher of what the city looks like, what it's like to fly over it, and really refresh some of those things that you loved about where you were visiting, and to be able to fly between buildings like this, which would be completely and thoroughly illegal.
Yeah.
I remember first loading it up. And I was like, oh, I'm going to jump into a 747. They can't be that hard to fly. And I was like, I'll be half realistic about it and go like in the cockpit and I'll flick all the dials and whatnot to make it fly. I looked at the cockpit. I was like, nope. No.
Yep.
Get out there.
It's like, it's
a better experience outside, in my opinion.
You look at your controller, like there's just not enough buttons. I mean, I can put my chat pad in, but that's not helping at all. In fact, this is making it much worse.
Something interesting if you didn't know, if you're not a fan of using the flight controllers, you can actually still, what they did, which I think is fantastic, you can actually still plug in a keyboard to your Xbox and use it in sync with your controller. So if you still want to use your controller, but just use a couple of keybinds on your keyboard, you can do that. So you can still fly around with your controller and go and just do something simple like your landing gear with your keyboard and stuff like that. But what I personally
and now there's flight controllers that are available for Xbox, an entire flight system.
Yes. What I personally enjoyed about it was I like how it being a sim is, it's just it doesn't matter whether you're a novice or an experienced person or whatever. It's you can just do whatever you want. So if you want to go in with the idea that I want to learn actually how to fly it and the realism of it, you can do that. But if you want to go in like for those in the last and what you're seeing now, that like Epic said, this is a discovery flight. Like the only training I did was the cameras. That was it. And you can just pick it up and fly. And for me personally, my enjoyment in Flight Simulator is the locations. It's not so much the long haul flights. For those that don't know, because of the early access I think I got really lucky and got into it early. I had a massive huge spike in my YouTube channel. We had something like 120,000 views just over a week, and so I've met some amazing people from the flight sim community, and they will literally fly from Australia to England. I'm like, how do you have the time? They're like, oh yeah, we just put the autopilot on, we'll go to work and come home and finish off the flight.
Right.
Right. But my enjoyment personally is the locations. You're never going to see all the locations in your life. So this is the next best thing to, I'm probably never going to go to Rio, but Rio is probably one of my favorite locations, and then the music they put behind it in the soundtrack is just so, relaxing. And then when you chuck in the multiplayer on that and the simplicity of how you can just fly with the community, it's a great experience. Whether you're a huge flight sim fan or a huge flight simulator fan or not, I think it's definitely worth even just checking out your own, backyard. Personally,
especially if you could, nobody could really travel now. It's nice to fly to places that you were planning on going, or taking family members or friends to places they can watch in the background. It's quite moving actually, because my mother wanted to go to Europe, so yeah, it's nice to take them for a flight, and it's close obviously, but you know, she could recognize all the different landmarks and stuff like that. So
And
yeah,
keep
it's
in
nice.
mind that this has all been done on Xbox hardware. That shows you the power of it. Like, I've been hearing people say, like in the comments and the videos, saying, "Wow, you know, people put in like 3090 graphics cards and high end CPUs, and they can't get, you know, a consistency of high level frame rates with the graphic detail, and yet the consoles were able to pull it off." Like, this footage is all from the Xbox Series X, and even the S.
Well,
the S version still does. It's just amazing.
Development for a PC game versus one for a dedicated console with a strict hardware profile is super different. They are two completely different worlds. When you have a hardware profile like an Xbox, you have only one set of hardware to work with. That's all you can do, and you can fine tune everything down to a very pristine, exact functionality. When you have to design something that can go with a myriad of different potential possibilities, whether it's RAM speed, whether you're running an M.2 solid state or an actual spinning disk drive, there's just a whole bunch of things that can go wrong. You know, and
it makes sense.
I'm discovering that now in game development. It's really interesting. One thing I want to point out that I'm seeing in this video, which by the way, this is absolutely breathtaking coverage. I think it's just a beautiful
I love the
example
sunset. It's just so beautiful.
Yeah. Well, and that's what I love is the dynamic weather. You can actually change it to realistic so that it's reflective of the area you're in. If you want to take off from your local airport and say if I wanted to fly from Portland to Seattle, or I wanted to fly up to Vancouver, BC, I can put it into realistic mode, like for the weather. And if it's nighttime here, it's nighttime in the game. If it's raining here, it's raining in the game. But if it's not raining in Seattle, you'll notice the weather changes as you're flying up there through the weather patterns. It's really in depth when you think about it. It's an incredible accomplishment, and it's a huge upgrade on the last flight simulator that they came out with ages ago.
A lot of the community wanted me to fly around Ireland and England. What do you think the weather was like there in live? You want to have a guess?
Probably raining.
Yeah.
Raining and storms. It's not all good news though. Like, I've personally, again, I've had a lot of different comments. I've personally not. I think I've had 2 crashes to the desktop personally. My mate's only had 2 crashes to the desktop, but there is a definite issue out there where people actually on the consoles haven't been able to boot up. Like, I had a mate comment, he's loaded into the game, tried to load a flight, literally gone to bed, and it's still trying to load there. There's a huge problem at the moment with some Xboxes still crashing to desktop. Flight Simulator actually only put out a tweet today apologizing for their lack of feedback. They do finally have a hot fix coming for it, and they are looking into the crash to desktop issue, but that's definitely been weird. Like, there's definitely a batch of us that aren't having the issue and enjoying the experience, but I've got a lot of unhappy community members that go, I just want to play the game and I've crashed 10 times today, or I just can't boot it up at all. And yeah, it's been really weird to watch. It's like, I haven't had the issue. I can't help you. I don't know. Like, I'm assuming, again, I'm not a developer. I'm assuming it's servers. I don't know. I can't see it being hardware if I'm not having an issue personally. I would, and people are saying that, you know, they're on 100 meg download, so I don't know if I don't think it's that. I don't know. I'm not a developer. But
that's probably one of the things though. Like, when it released on Game Pass, the amount of, because everyone had the option to, I definitely did have an option to pre-install it. The amount of people that would have been trying to jump in on the first day or the first week, the servers were just getting absolutely pounded by traffic. Whereas that's probably where a lot of the issues with like connecting and that will all come into factor with stuff. But I think people, when it starts coming out a bit longer and they start with hot fixes and stuff, will probably fix those little issues.
So overall, I don't know if I've actually rated Flight Simulator yet, but I think I'd personally give this one an 8 out of 10. And in my latest video, I gave it a must. Regardless if you're a flight sim fan or not, it's worth installing just to fly around in your own backyard, in my opinion, and just to experience a discovery flight.
We have a big TV upstairs, and it's one of the things I want to do because my housemate is not a gamer, but we've got this beautiful TV
Oh,
that has this incredible
amazing.
picture, and I'm like, I want to load this up and just go flying around because he's gonna love it. He's never been to Australia. I want to show him Australia, and yeah,
Well, here's the interesting
it's a
thing.
good chance, a good time.
It's locked to 30 FPS.
Just not the bridge in
for-
Sydney, because the bridge in Sydney.
If you've got a VRR monitor, if you've got a VRR monitor or TV, you are actually capable of getting some high FPS out of it as well, which is even better.
Mhm.
So,
Yeah.
no, it's a definite must from me. That's all I think we'll cover on the flight simulator. Install it, enjoy it on Game Pass.